From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. A new federal stimulus package is officially on its way, and that means many Americans are getting more desperately needed financial support. But one group of small business owners is finally getting help for the first time. Q2's Casey Conlon shows us how it may save the future of live entertainment in our latest Rebound story.
The last time we checked in with the pub station was back in May. They had already been shut down for 2 months because of the pandemic, and figuring that financial help was on the way anytime. Well, it's been 7 months since then, and they still don't have any money in their accounts, but they will soon.
You know, what we accomplished nationally is what I read, at least in the New York Times, I believe it was the biggest public investment in art in history.
The Save Our Stages provision of the latest relief package will provide $15 billion for live entertainment venues like the pub station, independent movie theaters like Art House, and certain museums with show auditoriums. The SOS Group has been working on the bill for months, gathering 2.1 million emails to Congress, with some of the biggest names in music performing on empty stages across the country in support.
Hello everybody, we're the Foo Fighters, and we're here at the legendary Troubadour.
We're a little big town. We're happy to be in Nashville, Tennessee at the Exit Inn.
My name is Mac Lamore, and this is it. This is our show.
Lynch has been on the front lines as a NEVA regional representative.
Learned a lot about the ins and outs of local and federal government, which is good. It was kind of a course in civics that crash course, I guess, in civics.
While far from the most populous group, Lynch says Montana actually was one of the leaders in getting the bill finally passed.
Both of our senators, Senator Daines and Tester, were some of the earliest co-sponsors of this bill. Both have been just extremely engaged in this process, and I couldn't be happier to be a Montanan, honestly.
That's not the only reason. Montana's smaller population will likely allow the state's venues to open slightly earlier than high-profile places. But don't be mistaken, we're nowhere close to that.
I wouldn't expect live entertainment to be coming back probably at a trickle, I would say maybe Q3, Q4, maybe a little bit of 2021. The really coming back to where everybody remembers it, probably 2022. So
that's what the Save Our Stages grant is aimed to do. Help these venues survive another turbulent year ahead.
And then after that, it's just hoping that this industry sees the demand again that it once did before the pandemic.
That's correct. Yeah, which we do think it will, but it's going to take a while for people to get comfortable.
And rebound to a pastime we all took for granted. Casey Conlon, MTN News.
Thanks, Casey. And Lynch hopes that grant applications will be available in the first 2 weeks of January, with money getting to the venues by the end of the month. Americans will get an extra $300 in enhanced unemployment insurance for the next 11 weeks, but that might not happen right away for Montanans. That's because the Montana Department of Labor is awaiting guidance from the U.S. Department of Labor to begin its implementation of assistance. Officials say in the meantime, they recommend people continue to file for their weekly payment request as they work to release benefits as rapidly as possible. And the Department of Labor saying Montana, along with every other state, must first receive written guidance from the USDOL on the implementation of the act before we can change our systems to support program extensions and additional benefits. We will issue routine updates to the media by press release on dli.mt.gov and on social media as more information becomes available. The priority of the Unemployment Insurance Division remains administering and implementing these changes. On the COVID front, Montana has seen 5 new COVID-19 related deaths since last night, bringing the state's total to 979 now. Those new deaths coming from Custer, Fallon, Richland, and Missoula counties. The total number of cases in our state grew by 376, with active cases over 5,000. The COVID-19 variant first seen in the United Kingdom and some other countries a few weeks ago has now reached America. According to our sister station in Denver, Colorado health officials have confirmed the first case of that variant in a man in his 20s. He had no travel history and is currently isolating. Scientists are trying to figure out whether the strain is more severe than prior strains of COVID-19, but initial research does suggest, I should say, that it may be more contagious. Well, if you've driven by the old Lucky Food store on Grand and 17th and Billings, you probably wondered what will take its place. And tonight we know the answer to that. Town and Country Foods, a Montana-based grocery chain that is employee-owned, will be putting a new store in that location. Hopes to be up and running by June or July. I talked with company president Travis Franson, who is excited about opening Town and Country's 7th location here in Billings.
I describe us as a hybrid. You know, we do a lot of naturals, a lot of organics, a lot of local foods, but yet we still also do the conventional products that customers are looking for. Each store is different. You know, we don't have a cookie cutter where we say this is what we do and, you know, hopefully it works. Each store kind of changes and adapts to what the local community needs and is looking for.
Franson says he expects that store will have 75 to 100 mostly full-time employees and that hiring will probably begin in May and even before that for managers. Montana's top political cop is ordering a national group that spent millions supporting the successful marijuana legislation campaign in the state to provide more information about where exactly that money came from. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian took a closer look at what's behind the decision.
The North Fund, headquartered in Washington, D.C., contributed about $5 million to the campaign for Initiative 190 and Constitutional Initiative 118. The Montana Commissioner of Political Practices ruled Monday that because of that spending, the organization should have to reveal its donors. Commissioner Jeff Mangan made the decision in response to a complaint from Steve Zabawa, treasurer of the group Wrong for Montana, which opposed the marijuana measures. The North Fund made a series of contributions to New Approach Montana, the committee sponsoring I-190 and CI-118. Mangan ruled the North Fund should be classified as an independent committee, which must provide information about its contributors under state law. The fund claimed it should instead be an incidental committee, a group which is not specifically organized for the purpose of supporting or opposing candidates or ballot issues, and which is exempted from disclosing its donors. The North Fund argues election spending is only part of its operations, and spending in Montana an even smaller part. But Mangan said the group spent $12 million on ballot measures in other states, and since it didn't provide information on non-election spending, he wasn't able to establish they had a different primary purpose. A spokesperson for the North Fund declined to comment on Mangan's decision, saying they wouldn't speak about an ongoing legal matter. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
Well, Wrong for Montana is currently challenging I-190 in court, arguing it's unconstitutional because it appropriates money through a ballot measure. However, the first provisions of I-190 are set to take effect on Friday. Well, one lucky winner is $1 million richer today thanks to the Montana Millionaire. The Montana Lottery drew the winning numbers this morning with their random number generator machine. The 2020 grand prize is winning number 125813. Tickets for the 2020 drawing of Montana Millionaire sold out in record time, with all tickets sold by November 23rd. If you think your ticket may be a winner, the first thing people should do is to make sure and sign the back of it.
They need to sign the back of that ticket. That ticket belongs to whoever signature is on the back. So sign the back of it. It can only be claimed here in Helena. You can claim in person, or you can, if you choose, you can mail it to us. But we are happy to meet that millionaire, and we are excited to see who it is.
There's no word yet on the location that sold the winning ticket, nor the name of the winner. A full list of all the winning ticket numbers for other prizes can be found on our website, ktvq.com. Back in 1960, the U-2 spy plane flew onto the world scene when American pilot Gary Powers was shot down over Russian airspace and captured. 2 years later, many Americans will recall that it was photographs taken from the U-2 that exposed the presence of Soviet missiles in Cuba, leading to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Tonight, MTN's Jay Cohn takes us into the cockpit of the famous U-2 spy plane that is still flying secret missions to this very day.
Fewer than 1,000 pilots have ever soloed at the controls of a U-2 plane. One of them lives outside of Livingston, Montana. Retired Air Force Colonel Ed Walby has logged more than 1,000 hours in the cockpit of a U-2, the plane nicknamed the Dragon Lady.
as you come down to land, you get within 10 feet of the runway, you're chased by another pilot. He calls out your altitudes. And when you get down to around 2 feet, you hope to have the airplane in a free stall. If you stall too high, the airplane drops and the airplane breaks in two, and you might get hurt. If you stall too low, it bounces, goes back up in the air, stalls again, and then the airplane drops and you break in two and you might get hurt. So it's difficult, plus you have the fishbowl on your head, the spacesuit. You've probably been flying 10, 12 hours, you're fatigued. Just all that stuff comes together, makes it really hard to fly. At altitude, it's easy, you got an autopilot, unless you lose the autopilot, and then you're in that coffin corner of 5 knots. Go too fast, you die, go too slow, you die.
But in spite of the inherent danger of flying a U-2, there's just something about flying at the edge of space.
When you're at 70,000 feet, you actually see the curvature of the Earth. This is either a sunrise or a sunset. There's a little piece of the moon showing. I actually saw Halley's Comet from altitude the last time it came through. Yeah, you can see the curvature of the Earth and the uniqueness of that sunrise. I think there's a sunrise. It's quite a neat place to be.
First proposed in 1953 under President Dwight Eisenhower, the U-2 was an immediate game changer in the international spy game. With a range of 7,000 miles and the ability to cruise at 70,000 feet, it could operate above the Soviet systems. To this day, the U-2 spy plane is considered the greatest intelligence breakthrough of the 20th century.
Folks that say, well, your cameras are so good you can actually read the license plate on a car. And I would tell them that's an exaggeration. From 70,000 feet, you don't have cameras that good that you could read the actual numbers on a license plate. What I can tell you is what kind of car it is, where it was manufactured, where it came from, where it's going, who's inside, who's male, who's female, what radio station they're listening to, how much gasoline's in the tank, how much oil's in the crankcase, and who they're communicating with if they're on a radio. But to say I could read the license plate would be an exaggeration.
Today, the modern version of the U-2 and its drone counterpart, the Global Hawk, are the front line of U.S. intelligence, involved in every major conflict and natural and man-made disasters since the mid-50s.
I flew over Rwanda during the slaughter of refugees during that conflict. We've been over Somalia. We've been over Mount St. Helens when it erupted. With Global Hawk and U-2, we took images of the reactors in Japan during the earthquake and the spread of radiation. We did the fires in California. We even searched for the Ark, Noah's Ark, using the radar and penetrating through the snow in Turkey. So some people say we found it, some people don't.
Colonel Walby retired to Montana several years ago. It was a homecoming of sorts, as he actually started his long Air Force career stationed at Minot Air Base in North Dakota. As you might expect, Colonel Walby has his share of harrowing moments in the cockpit of the U-2. Tomorrow he'll share some of those moments, including when he flew alongside the space shuttle in one of its first launches following the Challenger disaster. In Billings, I'm Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News.
Thanks, Jay. Look forward to that. Up next on tonight's Q2 530 News, a walk down memory lane with Bob McGuire as he gets ready to depart the Q2 airwaves. He's been dedicated to our community for over 3 decades, along with keeping us informed on the weather front.
And coming up in weather, well, we're going to be talking about the countdown to 2021. Tonight's going to be partly cloudy, a little cool. Tomorrow we're warming up. On Thursday, a wintry mix and some flurries near Billings. We'll chat all about it coming up in a few minutes.